And we're back. Sorry, I had my headset off. Didn't even realize.
I didn't
Nobody,
even let you know.
nobody was screaming at me.
No, I instead responding to a YouTube comment from our boy
Sorry.
Steven about how I like the Atlanta Falcons being in a tie for first in the NFC South. Thanks, Steven. I hate it. There you go. That's my answer.
Is Steven a Falcons fan?
I
Yeah,
don't
you
know.
know what?
Is he?
Don't even. I don't even.
Is he?
Yeah, I don't
Is
know.
he?
It doesn't matter. Welcome back in, Jay and Elijah with you. We are broadcasting live from Columbia Craft in the Vista. Our good friend Langston Moore on the guest line as we talk Carolina and Mississippi. Langston, again, I think a lot of us feel like Ole Miss comes in here back against the wall, and you pointed some of that out in our last couple of Q&As with you. From a Gamecock perspective, it's not a back against the wall moment, but these are two programs, and I'm going to differentiate, Langston, right now between program and team, because there's no question that the Ole Miss team right now, I think, has more talent and certainly has higher expectations in South Carolina. But from a program perspective, these are still two schools that are looking to climb into the top and kind of remain in a more a higher level of SEC football like we saw under Steve Spurrier 10, 12 years ago. So from a Gamecock perspective, if it's not a back against the wall moment, how do you feel like they match an intensity level they showed first half against LSU, or even a different way to match an intensity that Ole Miss may come out with? Because if you're going to be that program that takes the next big steps, these are games that you have to win. Is there more on the line for Ole Miss, or can Carolina and Shane Beamer find a way to replicate the importance of what tomorrow means for the program?
And obviously, part of that road is being in the right conference. We got that. Part of that is, having a quarterback. We have that, having some different pieces. But everybody's trying to find that next little climb up to the top of the mountain. Now, again, if you listen to some ESPN folks, some folks say there's really only one team every year really competing for a national championship, and that's Alabama. Everybody else is just kind of playing through the prism of their own kind of regional kind of, South Carolina. Would we be happy with going to a SEC championship and nothing else this year? Probably, maybe. I don't know. But you ask somebody else that, you ask Ole Miss that, I don't know. And so I think you talking about it, I think that's a great way to kind of put this thing in context between program and team. The team that is there for Ole Miss, they have a lot to play for, but it feels like it's hanging on by a thread. Very, very finicky, very, very thin, because a lot of these guys have personal NFL things that they want to look after. Yeah, it might be great to have double-digit wins, and these are the things you care about when you're old, like Langston Moore and Preston and the rest of these guys. But when you're young and you think you got a whole bunch of football in front of you, you don't care about that stuff. And so on top of that, some of the other things going on as far as what we hear about Lane always looking over his shoulder, and he doesn't have to actively go out there and say, hey, guys, I'm available. Florida knows he's available. Florida State, if that job becomes available. Auburn, if that job becomes available. There's a whole bunch of different moving parts that may be coming down the pipeline here, and maybe something for Lane to say here in a minute. I just don't, not to say I'm done with this, but if he starts to check out and he doesn't necessarily have to do those things and say them outright, but you start to notice these kids starting to do that, and guys saying, "Oh, I think I'm good. I don't want to," like we just said, they start making a whole bunch of business decisions. Now, for a lot of folks, they might not want to see that. The fans might not want to see that. All that being said, I think that's an advantage for South Carolina, because I think our team is built different. We do have transfers, we do have that, but the bulk of guys in here and the guys that we have brought in here, I think Shane has done a really good job of doing that. Obviously, the ties with Rocket Sander to our offensive coordinator and different things, Lenoris, all of that. So I think if we do what we need to do, and this is where I think from the South Carolina standpoint, we have everything to play for in front of us. Even with one loss, the pressure is on Ole Miss to come in here and perform. And that's why I think if things don't go the certain way for them, if we can trample the run really early on, stop some of these screens, stop that momentum, I think it can get really ugly really fast for an Ole Miss team, because what are we playing for, guys? I got my NIL money. I got, I'm going to go to Bikram Yoga if I'm laying Kiffin on Sunday morning. Okay, Jimmy Sexton's going to give me a call. And so all of those things are going to happen, win, lose, or draw. And it also feels like the other shoe is going to drop for Ole Miss at some point. If it ain't going to be South Carolina that ends the dream for them for the rest of this year, it's going to be somebody else relatively close. And my idea is there's nothing better than playing spoiler and taking somebody else's old lady to the party than one of those deals. Sorry to make it kind of personal like that. I'm sorry.
It does kind of feel that way, though. I mean, look, when you look at Ole Miss's schedule, like, this is a team with legitimate college football playoff, expectations, and it doesn't get much easier. They have to host Georgia. They got to go to LSU
next week.
Next week, they have to go to LSU. I mean, this is a game they cannot afford to lose, and this is their first. I want to say real road game. With all due respect to Dave Clawson and Wake Forest, there were a lot of Ole Miss fans in Winston-Salem. And Winston-Salem, not necessarily known to be a hostile road environment.
It's the home of Krispy Kreme. How can it be hostile?
That's right. Everybody loves Krispy Kreme. So, I mean, there's too much kumbaya going on in that stadium and not enough animosity. It will not be that way on Saturday, not just because Ole Miss is who Ole Miss is, but Juice Wells will be playing in attendance too. There's going to be a hostility that Ole Miss has not seen this year. And I just have a feeling this is a big test for, like, if you're from that perspective of their mental fortitude. And I have a real feeling, Langston, that my idea of this game can go completely haywire if South Carolina scores in the first possession and Ole Miss has a turnover, because that place is going to be rocking. It is going to be hostile to the point that it would break even good teams. How much of a factor do you think that's going to play in, especially considering there's a player for Ole Miss who Gamecock fans are very familiar with?
Man, let's get that Lloyd Lisa money up there. I know they got that pot's been brewing, because that's exactly what happened. It was back and forth in the 2018. I keep bringing that up because I was on the sideline, and I'm just telling you, man, I was doing the broadcast, and I was really nervous because they had Tamu, the quarterback, who was really active. They had Elijah Moore. They had this other guy named A.J. Brown, who should have been playing defensive end, but he's out there playing wide receiver. But this dude for us named Debo Samuels came out there and ran back a kickoff for a touchdown. We had Brian Edwards make one of the best catches I've ever seen on the sideline. And so on top of all of that, I mean, statistically, Ole Miss that day outrushed us. They did it, but we did just enough with getting just enough sacks. There's a guy named Ricky Sanders that had a sack. It came from all over for us that day down there in South Carolina, down there at Ole Miss. I think for South Carolina tomorrow, that can be one of the keys to victories for us. Get that special teams deal, set up a score, or get a score through special teams. Make sure we get our offense humming really. Again, I would love for us to go down on the first drive and score a touchdown. I think that would put a whole bunch of pressure. The thing that can really save Ole Miss, and this can save any team on the road, this is why I love playing defense. You really can't really rely on your offense a lot of times on offense. It takes a while. We saw that with Ole Miss. We saw that with LSU a couple weeks ago. But Ole Miss has some defense. And South Carolina's been prone to give up a bunch of sacks. So, again, we still haven't corrected all the road woes when it comes to pass protection and different things. Some of that is just because of Lenoris running around a little bit. But they can get after the quarterback. They lead the nation in tackles for us. They do a whole bunch of stuff to get us off kilter. And if we let that defense kind of hang around, that's why we got to be really careful with our offensive play call. Let's be smart. Let's not try to outwit Lane Kiffin at Lane Kiffin's game. Let's run our game, do what we need to do. Screen draws, delays, get these guys running all over the place, because that's what I anticipate Lane to do against our defense, and all the things that we do is try to get us going all over the place. The next thing you know, they slip somebody behind us, or they try to get a Juice Wells behind us. So, again, the main thing, we got to make sure our offense stay clean, be patient, but let the environment, let all the pressure fall up on those guys on the other sideline for Ole Miss, because for us, there's all the advantage for us, and we have everything to play for. It feels really, really shaky over there in that household. They've been going through some things down there. I don't know if they need to go talk to the pastor as a family or not, but that's not our problem over here. We're going to pray for them, and whatever happens for us is going to happen for us.
I want to come back with that point you made about the Gamecock defense and what Lane's going to want to do, because I think that's next. And I want to talk to Langston about the usage of the dark arts that have now crept in to the storyline of this game. Plenty more to do as we broadcast live from Columbia Craft in the South Vista, or the
Sista,
as we like to call it. You're listening to the Postgame Show. Let me tell you about our good friends at AAA Heating and Air. They want to know how old your air conditioning system is. And if it's really, really, really super old and kind of, doesn't work well anymore, they want to give you a new one. But now there is not really a catch, just a way for you to go through the process. Log on to myoldAir.com. Follow the instructions on how to enter. And if you think you have the oldest AC and the worst AC system in their Midland service area, you could win a brand new one. For every 100 entries they receive at myoldAir.com, they're going to draw one winner. That's right. For every 100, one winner. That's a good chance. I mean, relative to the lottery or something.
Much better than the lottery.
Yeah, way better, right? So, I mean,
or a parlay card.
Check it out. Go do that. Plus, for any and all of your service needs, you can always get in touch with my good friends Roy and Dana Finley and AAA Heating and Air. Log on to myoldAir.com, and good luck from AAA Heating and Air. I think so. 26 minutes in front of 4 o'clock on this Friday afternoon. Y'all know when this one plays, I let it go a little bit longer. Jay and Elijah with you from Columbia Craft.
Even though you do hear them knocking.
Yeah, I can.
But you just let them
Well, you can't hear that, but I just knocked on this table. You can't hear that through the microphones. Our good friend Langston Moore is joining us now. All right, Langston, I sent you a text of a tweet that somebody sent me. Said, get ready for this on Saturday. This being people falling down, seemingly being hurt. Now, I want to set you up. So you've known me a long time. Indulge me here as I set you up with what's kind of a long question and statement. My good friend and co-host Elijah Campbell blew my mind yesterday.
I figured out
when we had 25 names on the Ole Miss availability report. Andy Staples had said that Lane's just trolling us, but Elijah said no. Lane is simply setting the scene for all these Ole Miss dudes that are going to go down with injuries on Saturday, and then he's going to look at the refs and go, hey, they were on the availability report. I told you they were questionable. So, how are you as a player, A, feeling about any team that utilizes that? B, how do we take it seriously sometimes? C, should South Carolina employ that as well just to get under Lane's skin?
Again, just know the rules. In the words of in the late great Gamecock coach Brad Long, just know the rules so I can just bend the hell out of them. And so again, this is Lane bending the hell out of these rules. I don't like it, but also you can utilize some of these things. As I think about a couple weeks ago when we were playing Kentucky, and right there was a little gamesmanship between Shane and Coach Stoops. We didn't have somebody run out there on the field goal deal, and Shane had to actually use a timeout because Kentucky had all the right to take their sweet time bringing their guy out, which would have caused us a delay in game before the half. And so I'm saying all that to say, just play around with it, because just how, they can use it against you, you can use it against them. Now, for us, we do use tempo. We do use some of these things, but these are some of the things we got to make sure we utilize on our home field, our home turf, because at the end, it is going to be really loud for them. One of the deals for Ole Miss is that they love tempo. They love to do those things. They try to get things off in like 20-something seconds, all those deals. So let's utilize that stuff to our deal right there. And again, if you're looking for the referee, I appreciate Lane going all the way to run the grift the right way. You know what I'm saying? Making sure your buddy's home. My dad's at home. Call the home. And your friend answers, hey, yeah, this is Mr. Mo. No, that's your friend. Call it. So, because I don't think referees are holding the pregame stuff like that, because they just look and say, oh, a player's hurt, player's safety. But, it's one of those deals. We got to figure out those ways to bend the rules to our favor as well.
Yeah, that's
I never worked, by the way, when I had my friends do that for me or me for them. Like, you don't sound like you're in your 40s or 50s. Like, how do you think I should sound? I'm not 12.
Need better wingmen.
I'm really sick. I mean, he's really sick. Yeah. Anyways,
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah, so that's a great Ferris Bueller scene.
But Langston, you mentioned the tempo of this Ole Miss team. That's something I've been thinking about. I don't know if Kentucky necessarily did a good job of slowing them down per se. They limited the amount of plays they got to run because they kept them off the field on third down. I mean, Ole Miss is 1 of 10 on third down. But when it comes to preparing for a team that wants to move quickly, that wants to ideally run 75 to 80 plays in a college football game, what really is probably the best way to limit them in a more practical use?
Stop the run. Goes back to stopping the run, putting them in really predictable downing distance. One of the things they're going to try to do on first down, they're either going to try to take a shot, they're going to try to figure out some way to spread you, do some different things to get that power run going, isolate you on the backside, maybe on a weak side run. If that doesn't work, now we're coming back on our second down to really try to get something to mitigate it, to really make it second, third and 4, third and 5. So you don't know if Jackson Dart's going to run it. You don't know if we're going to run a bubble screen. You don't know if we're going to do a screen draw. So the more you can really try to make those things black and white and put those in really predictable situations, doesn't mean that Lane won't do something crazy like, let's run it on 3rd and 14 and see what happens, because that's still on the table too. But the more you can kind of get to those deals, the more you start to feel those play callers just start to get really tight. And I think that's one of the things that Kentucky did last week, is that they probably didn't control the ball as much as they could. They probably didn't do well, but they did well on fourth down. And once it got to be kind of, as somebody like to say, cutting time, where we start to cut some of this fat away from the deal, you start to feel the pressure. And everybody felt the pressure, and then, it goes across the board. The defense did what it needed to do, the offense, but then the special teams didn't respond. So, again, we're able to do all of that because we're going to be at home, but it all starts with making sure we do everything on every part, on defense, offense, and special teams. Don't turn the ball over. Don't give them some extra life. Do what we need to do. We don't got to go out here and score 50 points and do all those things. Play our game, and the environment and the nature of everything, I think will start to close in on Lane Kiffin a little bit. You start to feel that pressure, and who's ever on the other side for the Gamecocks fan, that's when you really start to yell a little bit louder, all of those different things, and that's when you kind of naturally let all of that play into the hands for us and don't play into the game plan for Ole Miss.
We've seen this Gamecock defense play well all season long. Langston did a great job up in Kentucky, obviously. Excuse me. And even though losing to LSU hurts, you did get to that offense in ways that no one else had so far this season. And Nussmeier made some really big plays, but you at least had him under duress. But this Ole Miss offense is much quicker, especially from your best position of expertise in the middle of that D line. What's their biggest job tomorrow when Ole Miss wants to have the ball out within 2 or 3 seconds? How are D tackles, especially in that, those guys in the interior, best at being disruptive when the offense is so quick?
A lot of ways to be a factor in the game, Jay. So like you said, whether it's a quick pass, you might not be able to get into the sack, pushing the offensive lineman, getting those hands up, making Jackson just tuck it one time. You do that one time, he has to tuck it for the next window. Maybe that's where Dylan comes for the backside, all those different things. And again, the more you start to compound those things, the more you start to just get Jackson into a really, really kind of odd deal. Now, one of the things that Lane will do to slow him down is that they will try to figure out some ways to get some offensive quarterback runs, some different deals like that. I'm gonna just tell you, I saw Jackson Dart out there when we were out there eating barbecue and all that. This is a very handsome young man. This man has got huge tree trunk legs. Do not be fooled by the pretty boy, all of that stuff there, because he has something to him when it comes to running the football. And they always kind of have that when it comes to Ole Miss, that one little deal in the back wheel. So Lane will do some of those things. So we got to make sure we trample all that. But once we've checked off all of those deals, there's really nothing left for Lane and those guys to do. And then we can really start getting after the quarterback and really getting a whole bunch of frustration. But again, it's going to be really, really making sure we limit possession, tackle well, stop the run on first down, put them in predictable deals. Once we do that, I think we can really start to get a flow of the game and really start to dig. Because this is one of the things. Usually when you see tempo teams, they either make a choice between either having really skinny offensive linemen who are like a bunch of centers and power forwards in basketball. Ole Miss doesn't have that. They got a bunch of big dudes who are kind of like old school SEC offensive linemen, all 310, 320 and up. So that wears on them after a while too. And so, yeah, it's great when that stuff is humming and the plays are gashing you and all that stuff. But if it ain't working, that's when you start to work these boys over. And that's one of the things I think we can take advantage of if we tackle well and stop the run against Ole Miss.
Good stuff. We'll come back with Langston and get a few final thoughts on the Carolina Ole Miss game and a couple of really good ones, including his old team in a big one in the AFC North, the Norris. Coming up, the AFC Norris coming up on Sunday. Much more to do as we broadcast live from Columbia Craft. It's a Football Friday on the Postgame Show. 3:47 on this Friday afternoon. Welcome back into the postgame show. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell, broadcasting live from Columbia Craft in the Vista. Come see us. We got I don't know how many. What do you think? I'm going to say we've got
a metric bleak ton.
Yeah, we got a whole mess of beat Ole Miss stickers. So if you want to
beat Ole Miss,
if you want to beat the tailgate rush tomorrow, or you don't know where to come, just come. We want you to literally come get these so that we don't have any more. All right,
that's right.
So just come get some,
because I don't want to take all of them home.
And Jeff brought in some schedule posters, so you can fill in the scores that are already there, and then you can take this home or take it and put it up in the office.
Yeah.
Wherever you want, man. You can
fill it out.
You can get 3 or 4 of them, and you can block your windows out if you just don't have any curtains right now.
You could. They wouldn't make great blackout curtains because they are white.
Yeah. But it'll help.
Yeah.
They're opaque at least.
Yes.
They're not full on blackout, but they'll help.
Limits the light that you bring in.
That's right. Of course, you need the light to say read, or maybe read books like Just a Chicken or Just a Chicken Little or Used to Rooster. Or if you just want to sit in the dark and listen to the Fight podcast, which came about today on Twitter. It's been out for a while, but it was brought up today. And you may say, what are you referencing, Jay? Well, what I'm telling you to do is go to athletesandartists.net, because that is where the great work of our good friend Langston Moore and our colleague Preston Thorne can be found, plus the illustrations of the amazing Kev Roche. All you got to do is log on to athletesandartists.net. And again, for those young Gamecock readers in your life, the Just a Chicken series of books make great birthday gifts, start to school gifts, holiday gifts. There's swag and merch, as the kids would say.
You got some merch on right now?
I do have. I have my Just a Chicken t-shirt on right now. Grown here, made here. I was both. So that's cool. It's actually quite literal. I was grown here and made here, without trying to get too scientific.
Please don't.
Okay. Well, the kids need to learn these things.
But
they may not be doing that at athletesandartists.net or the Just Chicken series. But you can do that. That'll be another book that Langston and Preston write.
Yes, and I do not envy having to clean that one up for the audience. I don't envy that job. But they can do it. They can pull it off.
Athletesandartists.net, the Fight Podcast, the Button Gut Podcast, and so much more. And we always appreciate the time of our good friend Langston Moore, as I can see in my iPad screen that my cheeks are a little garnet right now. I'm sorry, y'all. Sometimes
it's a garnet out.
It just happens. But Langston gets it. He's known me a long time now, and that's what I do.
It's like the second time your cheeks gotten red during a show in the last week.
Yeah, it happens.
It does.
It happens. What are you going to do? Langston, before we get your final thoughts on tomorrow's game here at Williams-Brice, couple of big ones in the NFL. I'd love to sit here and talk with you about the Panthers going to Chicago and all of the funny storylines, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to let those kind of speak for themselves. Dallas going to Pittsburgh on Sunday night. This one's big. Your Bengals hosting the Ravens. Huge for Cincinnati in the AFC North. How you looking at those two games?
Yeah, Dallas, they got to figure out some way to, win differently now, because, again, they wanted to get a lead and rest the heck out of you with their two guys. Now they're down DeMarcus Lawrence. They're down their other dynamic pass rusher there. So, really, Dak, it's time to earn your money, man. Let's throw it 60 times to figure it out, because what are the other pathways we have really to make this happen? Oh, by the way, Pittsburgh Steelers is going to draw a whole bunch of defensive stuff up. P.J. Watt going to be in your lap all day, so maybe that's not a good game plan. Ravens and the Bengals, again, looks like the Ravens were on their way to falling off the cliff, and they turned to the left and found a running game. Cincinnati can't find their running game. It looks like it's doom and gloom for the Bengals, though. Who knows, though? It's any given Sunday, but I don't know. I think one team is going to be hitting their stride, the team in purple, and the other one with the candy stripe pants. My old employer might be figuring out a way that might be shutting this thing down for one more season there. Just let's play to another year.
Yeah. If it doesn't go well for Cincinnati, I was really going to ask you that. You brought it up, man. I mean, it just gets to a point where all of a sudden you're like, what happened? It was so much promise, and it's just, I know Burrow got hurt last year, and there were just things, but what's missing? I asked that seriously. What's missing from Cincinnati right now?
Joe Mixon is missing. I think they really miss having a guy like that, even though, again, Cincinnati has always been one of those who try to get running back by committee or find a guy who's on the edge, who maybe fell a lot, and you try to get him. But I think it's really going to be really interesting what they're going to do, because Jamar Chase will probably be shutting it down. And if Joe is really kind of 50-50 right now, let's go ahead and shut this thing down if it gets to be really bad, because I'm not going to sit here and let my $200 million man just kick hits and chuck it up down there and lose all of his confidence. This is not something we want to do, and we might need to be looking at who's going to be our next head coaching deal there, because there are some really cool names out there who might really benefit from that. But I don't know if Bill Belichick and old Mike Brown Jr., I don't know how those things are going to work, but maybe it will. Who knows?
Well, Mike Brown will look at Bill and go, well, he wears nothing but cutoff hoodies. He's got to be cheap like me. So that's got to be.
I feel like both of those dudes are like in the same grammar school together or something like that, or at least.
One, two, 1, 2. Okay. Some good news. Some good news. They are finally pulling all those vehicles out of the way on I-26 westbound Sunset Boulevard. So that's going to clear up soon. But at the moment, you're still going to have a delay backed up to Airport Boulevard at the moment. Crooked Creek at Harvest View, an accident there. Also Decker at Two Notch, Hard Scrabble at Faro, and number 6 at Platte Springs Road. Accidents there. It's Captain Dave, W. Some good news for you. That accident on I-26 westbound at 378 Sunset Boulevard, they've just pulled those vehicles out of the left-hand lane there. 2 lanes were blocked there. So we're going to get that cleared up any time now, but the delay goes back to Airport Boulevard. And that is a long way, so expect a delay. Crooked Creek at Harvest View, a wreck there. Decker Boulevard at Two Notch, Hard Scrabble at Faro, and South Lake Drive at Platte Springs Road. I do have some good news for you. The wreck on I-26 Sunset Boulevard, left-hand lane, 2 of them were blocked. They pull those vehicles out of the way. That's going to get cleared up shortly, but the backup goes all the way back to 302 Airport Boulevard. Decker at Two Notch, a wreck there. Hard Scrabble at Faro. South Lake Drive at Platte Springs Road. So look out for some delays. Be careful out there. It's Captain Dave, WIS-TV Traffic Center.
corner of Green, Pulaski, and UG, or if you want to say Huger, you can.
Mistake I made very early on
Huger,
in my
Huger.
tenure living here.
Yeah.
Very early on.
Well, hey, when you're new, it looks like
it does.
It looks like Huger,
yeah.
Which again is not really a word. Like huge is a thing, but huger is it's more huge or just bigger.
Hugest.
Huger. I guess huger. I never used the word huger.
No, absolutely not. Bigger, more gigantic.
Yeah. Just I don't even know if I used the word hugest. Is hugest the word?
No, that is just Larry Allen.
Okay. That's fair.
One Larry Allen is a unit of measurement.
That's fair.
Rest in peace.
All right. Yeah. R.I.P.
When I think football, large men, I just think Larry Allen. That's where my mind goes to. Large human beings.
Man. I don't know. I guess Fridge Perry.
Yeah.
He was big.
You don't get the nickname the refrigerator if you are not physically imposing.
Jared Lorenzen. He was big.
He was the hefty lefty.
Yeah. He was pretty good, man.
Dude,
in college, he was great.
You will never see a quarterback that size again.
No.
I feel really good about saying that. I feel really confident in that assessment. You're just never going to see a quarterback.
He had some touch, he really did. But that was kind of fun. Anyway, all right, welcome back in. But it's UG, so that's where we are. UG, Pulaski, Green. We're a couple blocks down. If you've never been to Columbia Craft, a couple blocks down from Colonial Life Arena. Very easy to get to. And honestly, very easy in terms of getting here because there's like a good stop sign over here and the stoplight over there. And
it's lovely.
It's very convenient.
Yes.
And there's plenty of room. There's plenty of beer.
Which is the most important part. Let's not bury the lead here. There is plenty of beer to be had.
There's plenty of stickers that say beat Ole Miss. Plenty.
If you're watching the game TV.
There's plenty of Gamecock schedule posters. Come get one.
We have these as well. Yes.
Yeah.
Now,
the kind you can write on.
Yet. Yes.
That's right.
Nice little posters.
That's right. And we have
Gamecock traditions. Shout out.
And we have our buddy Alan Cole with us as well. We're going to cover Alan in stickers.
You don't want to cover him stickers because he's wearing an Atlanta Braves World Series championship shirt.
He is.
The good old days.
So
when they won games in the playoffs.
On that note, if I may, hang on.
I wish I knew what that felt like.
Let me go to my
I'll never experience that.
Go to my Twitter feed. I retweeted this earlier.
Watching you scroll on an iPad is hilarious because you do the one finger thing.
I do. Mark Bowman threw out this tweet that the Braves had I guess, I don't know. Anyway, Chris Sale threw a side session today and felt great. Alex told him earlier this week, that's Anthopoulos. Alex told him earlier this week he would have been on the NLDS roster.
I love the first comment from Pete Harris, whoever you are, says, wow, happy for him.
I mean, why, if you're Chris Sale and or Alex Anthopoulos and or the Braves, why don't even tell me that today. If you want to tell me like in 2 weeks that 2 days after the season ended, Chris Sale threw a bullpen and, quote, felt great. Okay. But it's like, hey, sir, because I have another word I'd like to include there. What happened this weekend when we needed you?
Yeah.
And then 2 days later.
Why didn't you feel great then? This
2 days later, you feel great. And then, again, for Alex to go, oh, good, well, you would have been on the NLDS.
That makes me feel so much better.
I mean, what are we? And so I threw out a gift that, cool, not cool, because no, it's not. I don't need to know that. I don't want and need. We say there's want, there's need. I don't want or need that information today.
That's kind of how I'd feel if you feel like your team got jobbed by officiating and the officiating comes the next day and says, yeah, we messed it up.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd like that. Still, that would not make me feel any better.
You didn't enjoy the AJ Smith-Shawver, Jesse Chavez extravaganza Tuesday night, whatever night that was this week?
Was that game?
That was game one.
No, I did not. Dude, I watched about 10 minutes of game one because I just knew when I looked. I said this on Wednesday's show. The Braves looked Tuesday night like what I thought, which was a team that had just, finished playing 5 games in 4 days in an effort just to get to the postseason. And then had to fly 2,000-something miles to play their first postseason game in a ballpark that was rabidly against them.
Great home field advantage.
It's going to be a fun series.
That's a great
Dodgers
ballpark.
Padres is going to be, not that Braves fans care, but it's going to be a great series.
When the Padres win, it's going to be hilarious.
I don't know who I'm pulling for in that one. Like here, like for the
If you're
Mets,
pulling for the Dodgers, something's wrong with
for
you.
the Mets and Phillies, I
Cheer for the
am
Sith.
pulling for like plague and pestilence to just befoul the entire I-95 corridor between Philadelphia and Queens.
And that way, no one wins in the
Yeah,
advances.
yeah. I mean, and I think that's fair.
I felt that way about many a sporting event.
I
Two
think
teams
I
I
think
don't
that's
like.
perfectly fair for me to feel that way. I like Freddie Freeman. I like Dave Roberts. I like Shohei. I don't like Tatis. I don't like Machado. So go Dodgers.
Oh, that's disgusting. Cheering for the Empire.
Nah, the Yankees are the Empire.
Well, the Dodgers are the Empire adjacent. That's
Yeah,
the National League Empire.
But it's LA, so they wear sandals and Hawaiian shirts.
See, yeah, the LA
Did
Dodgers
they not do that in San Diego too?
Yeah, but I don't like Tatis and Machado. So sorry. But it'd be I don't know.
Selling out.
Well, I can't. Well, listen, I gotta be. Listen, whichever one of those teams wins that series, like
You're gonna cheer for regardless.
I might go buy some merch, man, because whoever wins the other one, I can assure you, I am not pulling for. I'll be pulling against.
Pretty hard. Yeah.
I mean, I hate the Mets and I hate the Phillies. But ask me the two teams I hate the most in baseball.
Who are the teams you hate the most?
The
in
Mets and
baseball?
Phillies.
You
I
didn't
can't
have not one bit of
stand
hesitation.
either one of them, man. I don't even know who's third.
There's probably not a third. You could probably live peacefully with other franchises.
Yeah,
The Nationals not bother
Houston. I mean, I told you Houston
Houston.
bothers me, but I'm kind of that's fading.
you. Yeah.
Like
Now that they're like 3 managers removed.
well,
from
yeah,
all
and
that.
I love Dusty Baker. So when Dusty won, I felt great for Dusty.
And they beat the Phillies in that series.
They did. That mattered. Thank you,
Matters a
Alan.
lot.
That did matter.
that matters a lot.
But I'd say Houston is third. But there's a massive gap between the Mets and the Phillies, and then Houston. Like Mets and Phillies are on the same line. Well, Mets. Like if there's a 1 instead of 1A and 1B, if there's like a 1A point A, then that's
Okay.
that's like like just the slightest degree of separation. Only because my Met hate is older.
Didn't hate the Phillies
Well,
at a
because
young age.
for the longest time, the Phillies stunk. Like the Mets always have a big payroll, and they're usually good. Like they're not like great, but they're usually good. You know what I mean? So I just
Fair.
so the San Diego LA series, yeah, I'm gonna have to latch on to one of them, man.
I got cheer for the Padres, man. The Dodgers are too evil for me. That's too.
But are
corporate
you
evil.
going to join me in the NLCS in pulling against either Philadelphia or the New York
Only if the
Metropolitans?
Padres win.
Oh God!
It's a little more complicated for me.
All right. Yeah. All right. Well, that could be a weird week. And then in the AL, go Detroit.
I was gonna say, I think we're all rolling with the Tigers
Yeah.
right now.
Go
That's
to-
the best story in baseball
Yeah,
right now, man. That's
go
awesome.
Detroit. But good to have Alan with us here, GamecockScoop.com, rival site covering the Gamecocks. Carolina 9-point underdogs tomorrow at home to Ole Miss. Let's start real quick with some of the things you heard from Shane last night. Most notably, Alan, and we'll get into some comments that we have recorded, but yesterday, at least, in the availability report, Lenore Sellers and Rocket Sanders and Jared Brown all went from questionable to probable. Will they, in your opinion, even be on an availability report again tonight, or does this next day take them into, they're playing?
Probably on there tonight because, we all know college football coaches, they want to keep as much information as close as possible. And as long as their names are on there, there's still always a chance you can hide something. You guys saw the Ole Miss report this week, right? With
25 guys.
A
CBS
graduation
receipt.
Yeah, CBS receipt of an injury report. Exactly, Elijah. So I'd say probably on there and still probable, but also I would expect all 3 of those guys to be suited up tomorrow and playing even. I wouldn't panic if you saw them on there tonight again.
Yeah, certainly not. But I fully expect to see Lenore Sellers. And I think we do get a pretty full version of him on Saturday. But if he's not 100%, and there's still maybe some lingering issues in the offensive line that is starting to struggle a little bit, because Ole Miss does have a pretty mean pass rush. What do you kind of expect to see from the offense in that point? Because when I'm trying to when I'm trying to like preview this game and kind of project what I think is going to happen, that offensive line is going to have to be a whole lot better than it has been this year in terms of protecting Sellers, Ashford, whoever is playing the majority of the snaps back there.
Yeah, I think honestly, when you set up this game, at least in my mind, this is kind of the Dowell Loggins earn your money game. You watch, you go back and watch Kentucky last week. I get it; they scored 20 points. It wasn't a juggernaut performance, but they schemed things up really well. They got their tight ends open a couple times. They did some things in the running game out in space. They kind of have their own version of Robbie Ashford and Gavin Wimsatt, the backup. He ran the ball 9 times. That could be something for South Carolina tomorrow. So this is a really good Ole Miss defense. I think Shane called them the most talented one they're going to face all year last night. But it's not infallible. Kentucky put up 350 yards on them last week, and I thought Kentucky schemed it really well with an offensive line that didn't block well. I mean, Ole Miss still sacked Brock Vandagriff 5 times last week. So I think it comes down to what Dowell Loggins can do and how much he can actually scheme against a defense that's talented but exploitable, as you saw last week.
You make a good point there about what they did to Vandagriff, because we saw what Carolina did, and while he was a little bit better against Georgia, the Georgia defense still smothered Kentucky. Are you in a place where you're starting not to apply the transitive property, but figuring out more of who Carolina beat when they beat Kentucky the way they did? Because we've now seen what seems to be a very different Kentucky team. But is that more about Kentucky, or is that more about South Carolina, especially when we saw South Carolina play really well against Louisiana State?
I think it's about South Carolina and specifically the D-line, like a position group, right? That game in Lexington was as close to one position group completely stealing a football game. Not stealing, if that's not the right word, but taking over a football game as you're ever going to see. And I think that game, even though Kentucky's offensive line's not great, it still struggled at times. That game still, to me, showed how dominant this D-line can be. And I think maybe it proved the ceiling for this team. I don't know what the floor is, but if you're playing well, if your D-line's firing like that, then yeah, I think you're probably, other than Alabama next week, you can stay in every single game.
Certainly. And then, flipping it to the other side of the ball, or keeping it on that same side of the ball, rather, I think the pass rush will do a really good job of getting to Jackson. I don't think maybe, because like for the season, Dart is, throwing about a little over 12 yards of air for each pass on average. So Ole Miss will catch the ball in space. I think this is the game where your secondary has to really be on their P's and Q's tackling, because this Ole Miss receiving group does a lot of magic with the ball in their hands. We know what Juice Wells can do. We saw what he did against Georgia and what he's had plenty of times in his career. We know what Trey Harris can do. But what's kind of your confidence level with O'Donnell Fortune, Judge Collier, DQ Smith? We know Nick Emenwari can tackle, but those guys are going to be asked to be a lot more sure-handed tacklers than maybe they have been at certain points this year.
Oh, is Juice coming back this week? No one's mentioned that.
No one's mentioned that. Yeah.
No, I think you're 100% right. I think
try not to dwell on that, but
Shane made a comment about it last night too. That I thought that was one of the things that lost him the LSU game. Honestly, like some tackling in space, especially in those fourth quarter drives, or some missed tackles in space. Yeah, I think I said this on our show last night at Gamecock Scoop. This is a Jalen Kilgore game for me. This is a guy you need some guys to get in the box a little bit more. Ole Miss does have a pretty, when it's going well, destructive running game too. I think people miss that. So this is I think a Jalen Kilgore type of game. Get up in the box, make some tackles, and yeah, you're just going to have to. I think maybe even more than the tackling, what I would worry about from South Carolina is the coverage. Just even beat over the top at least once in every single game so far this year. Even Akron got you twice. One of them was dropped. So I think it's especially Judge Collier, who's probably going to have the juice matchup. This is a big game for him.
Alan Cole hanging out with us here, talking more Gamecocks and Ole Miss. We'll do it through the 4 o'clock hour, plus a drive around the SEC coming up. It's the Football Friday post-game show live from Columbia Craft. Be right back. Always love telling you about my good friends at Integrated Media. A lot of you will be at the game tomorrow, but then there's a couple of big road games. How you watching when you're not at Williams-Brice? Have you been to a buddy's house or a sports bar lately and said, man, I really want to do that, but I bet it's really expensive? Listen, it's really not. Get Integrated Media into your house. The equipment they sell, same prices as any of the big box stores you're buying your TVs or speakers from. But then what you're paying for is the expertise of the installation, doing it right once. All right. You might hear a guy say, oh, no, I know how to do it. I know a guy. Don't fall for that, please. Use Integrated Media. I couldn't live without it. Indoors, outdoors, one room, whole house, Wi-Fi that works everywhere with your streaming all of your TV and music. Listen, these guys are amazing at what they do. Call them up. Trust me, 803-948-8327. Feel like you're there with Integrated Media. Nineteen minutes after 4 o'clock on this Friday afternoon. Football Friday is what it is. Columbia Craft in the Vista. Again, Pulaski, Eugene, Green, come say hey. Check this out now. And this is like not a timed thing, so you can do this today. They're having a supply drive to help folks in the upstate and in western North Carolina, and they need the things you think, non-perishable food items, diapers for babies, baby formula in cans, baby meds, things like that. You know what they're looking for, right? If you can do that and bring something down here to Columbia Craft, they're going to give you 15% off of your tab. So that's
15%.
That's a nice way for you to help, and you'll save a few bucks while you're down here at Columbia Craft, and you'll get a couple of really nice beers. They're going to send out the first truck on Tuesday, so they'll be collecting over the weekend and on Monday, and then send the first truck out. Bottled water and things like that too. But again, canned goods. Just do what you can to help out. Saw a great story on one of the food banks up in Asheville, and many of you know. To me and my family, Asheville is like hometown 1B. We are up there a lot and have a real affinity for that area and have for most of my life. And it's just they've been devastated. They've just been absolutely devastated in ways that a week ago when I was traveling, and I've told that story, Elijah, none of us knew because there was no way to get word out. Nobody knew what the heck was going on up there. Now that we've seen the pictures,
the extent of the damage.
It's just I like I say, and I know that place well, and can't believe that that's what's happening up there. So do your part wherever it might be, but if you want to do it here with the folks at Columbia Craft and their friends at Carolina Malt House, you can bring it here, and again get 15% off your bill.
Which is anyway, again, I get 15%
nice,
off the bill.
It's a win-win kind of a situation. Speaking of win-win, the game tomorrow at Williams-Brice is sold out. But if you come to Columbia Craft right now, you got to come here. All right. No calling, no texting, no emailing, no Twitter. Come here. See us. We have a pair of tickets. That's it for today.
Usually we have a few.
Yeah.
This is the only opportunity.
So super popular tickets for a really big game. So if you want to go and you don't have them, come see us. We're inside.
Yep.
In the main room. Come see us. You'll see us. You can't miss us.
And if you find Jeff Haley, say name. I guess the password this week is Rick Ankiel, right. And he will go ahead and give you the ticket.
That's right. But Jeff is ready to help you out momentarily. But again, in all seriousness, helping out Columbia Craft and the folks at Carolina Malt House Supply Drive, 15% off your tab. That's it. And then they're collecting through Monday. So come say hey, do your part, and have a beer.
That's right. Doing your part, then having a beer, because then you have earned it.
Look at that. Way to
Helping
go.
rebuild efforts is definitely worthy of rewarding yourself with and beer.
That's right. Jay, Elijah, Alan Cole is down here with us from Gamecock Scoop. All right. Let's say tomorrow that Lenoris and Rocket have to come in and out. Maybe they don't get hurt again, right? But is there a plan in place from what you're hearing on using Robbie Ashford? Is Oscar Attaway ready to do more? Juwan Howell ready to do more? Did we see enough of those guys in the Akron game to now say there is a significantly increased level of confidence in their production ability after the Akron game and applying it to tomorrow afternoon?
Ashford, I'll start with the quarterback position. Ashford, I think so. I think I've gotten a sense just from talking to people that there is some more faith there, that he executed what they wanted to see in the passing game with the offense against Akron, that even against a defense that's nowhere near as good as the one they're going to see Saturday, he still, hit receivers on time, and he managed the offense well, and he didn't take bad hits, everything like that you want to see from the quarterback. So I think there is faith in Robbie Ashford. The running game, even Oscar Attaway, he looked better against Akron. It was 2 short yardage touchdowns. It was 1 and 2 yards out. I don't know if they're ready to give an Attaway, a Howell, a Matthew Fuller. We saw him against Akron a little bit. I don't know if that's the Rocket workload, that kind of thing. I think you feel a lot better if only one of the two can stay in the whole time. I think you feel better, honestly, with Rocket than Lenoris, just because you rely on him so much for what you want to do in the running game. And I think his health, even of those 3, I know that sounds crazy because you talk about a quarterback usually, but of those 3, Rocket's the one I'm most curious about for tomorrow.
Is it surprising that there is as much separation in the running back room as we are seeing relative to maybe what we thought going into the year?
For me, I'm not surprised because I think how good Rocket was at Arkansas. What the expectations were coming. How good he's been this year. When he's been healthy, especially I think you think about the LSU game mostly, but he's been really what you asked for when you got him in the transfer portal. So no, I'm not really surprised about that. Although I definitely think that's, again, if Rocket actually, I think I said this when I was here for LSU week, but if you ever did lose Rocket for a serious amount of time, I think that would immediately jump to the biggest concern on this roster.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, that's and there's still some depth there, but you're right. I mean, the gap is so large. When it comes to receiving too, I think the one thing that we probably could actually take away from the Akron game was that Gage Larvadan, when healthy, is going to help you out. And we've been looking all season long for somebody who can stretch the field, somebody who can at least make a defense have to account for somebody to open up the top of it. And I think we've kind of been waiting for Nick Harbor to do that all season. I don't think that's really coming to fruition. But Gage Larvadan ran 2 routes that were over, or he got 2 targets that were over 20-plus air yards. He caught them both. Ended up getting 79 yards and looked really impressive in doing so. Did that game actually teach us that we have more weapons in the pass game than we might have thought about this team the first 3 weeks? Or is it one of those things that you just took advantage of a really bad FC or FBS team?
Larvadane specifically is tough to know just because obviously he's only really played against Akron. Those were his first 2 catches of the year. But I think there is more depth maybe in the passing game than people think. You mentioned obviously Larvadane, but Delvon Campbell made that big catch against LSU that got taken back by the penalty, but that wasn't on him. I think he's kind of that bigger body you want. You see seeing some of what Vandrevius Jacobs can do. And Larvadane specifically, I think the backbone of a lot of this week has been, what can South Carolina do that Kentucky did? Well, Larvadane, that skill set, the way he kind of gets into pockets of space, speed around the edge, that's kind of the Dane Key, Berrigan Brown thing, right?
Yeah.
What Kentucky did last week to Ole Miss. So I think Larvadane actually could have a big part in the game tomorrow. Just because, again, I think you talk about what Kentucky did, what South Carolina can try to do. It's kind of similar there.
And like in a way too, when I watched that Kentucky game, the one thing Ole Miss corners that they did that really cost them the game was they are handsy. They hand fight like it is nobody's business. That one of the pass interference plays. I mean, they had 3 either DPI or defensive holding on 3rd downs on that final drive that Kentucky used to win the game. And on one of them, Brandon Turnage basically held Berrigan Brown's hand about as romantically as possible going down the field. It was a romantic stroll, but that's still 15 yards and an automatic first down. Do you think they try to exploit that a little bit? Because I feel like you can. That does open up a possibility to get, like to call the Carson Wentz DPI call to go in your favor.
Yeah, I think that kind of goes back to, too, like maybe a Delvon Campbell type of thing, right? A bigger body guy who's tougher to kind of press the line of scrimmage. Larvadane, like I said, guy who can get behind you. I think it's worth noting that even though, again, at the CBS receipt, Ole Miss has 2 corners on the injury report who are questionable right now. I think there's more to be had in the passing game than people think if you can protect. And I know you guys have already talked about that a little bit, but that to me is where this offense, aside from the Dowell Logan stuff I already talked about, that's where it begins and ends. You just have to be able to protect better than you have for these first 4 games against a really good Ole Miss front 4.
We'll have more with Alan throughout the course of the hour. I got some sound from Shane Beamer to get to, but on the other side of the break on Fridays, we do it a little bit earlier, drive around the SEC. There's one really intriguing game, and then how we also measure Hugh Freeze's chances in Athens tomorrow and how the Georgia Bulldogs want to respond after their loss in Tuscaloosa. Drive around the SEC coming up as you listen to the Friday postgame show.
Holidays are coming up. Honestly, it'll be here before you even know it. I feel like I have blinked, and it has gone from January to October, and this means this is the perfect time that if you have a weight loss goal you would like to reach, you start with Columbia Secret for Weight Loss right now. I have a good feeling you're going to be able to reach that goal by the time we even get to Thanksgiving. And it did wonders for me in a shorter amount of time. I reached my weight loss goal in less than a month, and that's all because of my friends over at Columbia Secret for Weight Loss. Paul Grant and Shaylin do a fantastic job of getting you on the right track, giving you meal plans that work just for you and scheduling certain meals, doing everything that you need to do to be able to lose weight using your body's attributes. No pills, no shots, no gimmicks, great coaching, great execution, and it yields great results. That interests you, give them a call, 803-824-4210. Again, 803-824-4210, or go to ColumbiaSecretWeightLoss.com. Results may vary.
All right, heavy traffic along this afternoon through Malfunction Junction, both directions. So problems there. Corley Mill near River Club, also Crooked Creek at Harvest View, Decker at Two Notch, Gervais at Hugh G, Hard Scrabble at Farrow Road, 26 at Piney Grove Road, Park Lane at Farrow Road. Your weather outlook? Yeah, we're looking at not too much chance of a rain, so that's good news there. Also, we're looking for the game time. It's going to be pretty good for you. Pretty good weather. So we're looking great for that. This is Captain Dave, WIS TV Traffic Center.
All right, welcome back into the postgame show. Football Friday, live from Columbia Craft. Jay, Elijah, Allen's hanging out. Captain David, Master Control. Congratulations to Mark, who is still up at the bar now. He just got his tickets, so we have given them away. Mark was very excited, and there was a guy right behind him who was smiling for about 10 seconds and then realized that Mark was getting our tickets. So sorry to that dude.
So close.
Yeah, that close. But we do have stickers,
1, 2, 3,
which
4.
if you say it, it sounds like.
Heavy traffic through Malfunction Junction. That includes both directions. Also, we're looking at wrecks at Corley Mill and River Club, Crooked Creek near Harvest View, Decker at Two Notch, Gervais at Hugh G, Hard Scrabble at Farrow Road, 26 eastbound at Piney Grove Road, Park Lane at Farrow Road, Rabin Road at Two Notch. This is Captain Dave, WIS TV Traffic Center.
Not too bad. Fellas, wish I can be there with you, but, work calls. Yeah. So I hear that. So I wanted to make a stat and see what y'all think. For us to win, if Robbie and Sellers play, Robbie needs to run for 120, and Lenore's needs to run for 50 and pass for at least 200. That is the winning success. I think if they can do that, then we've had enough success to keep Ole May at bay. Right, right. Yeah. Yep. Well, well, I had another question. So with Ole Miss and Florida, it's a culture problem. At the end of the day, I believe that in my heart, and they're both a dumpster fire, especially if Ole Miss loses to us tomorrow night. I hope we win, but y'all are right. Ole Miss needs this a lot more. If Lane goes to Florida, I don't think he'll be able to do nothing because those are two programs that will not be in the top for at least another 4 years because they're in a rebuild stage from the bottom up, I believe. See what y'all think about that.
Still some slope on I-26 westbound from 378 West Columbia all the way through Malfunction Junction. Coming the other way, we got a slow up there too, 26 eastbound. There is a wreck at 26 eastbound at Piney Grove Road. Park Lane at Faro, there's an accident there. Rabin Road at Two Notch, another wreck. Your weather outlook for tomorrow, we're looking at game time pretty good. Only a 20% chance of rain, high of 86, low of 66. Sunday, sun and clouds, and 0% chance of rain. So that should be pretty good. Monday, we're looking at not much chance of rain either with 87 for a high. Captain Dave, WIS TV Traffic Center.
You don't want to talk about the Ole Miss injury report with 25 names
I
on it?
saw that as questionable.
Yeah, so there's your Prisma Health injury report, all 25.
That would take an hour for us to do.
I think they had 24 last week, so they've got one extra this week. We'll put our report out at 8 o'clock tonight, just like the SEC requires us to do. So no disrespect to Prisma Health. I know they're a great sponsor, but we're not going to do the injury report before we have to release it. But it'll say tonight that Rocket and Jared Brown and Lenoris are all probable, which means they've practiced this week, and we feel pretty good about their availability on Saturday.
Well, he hates this rule, despises it, I think, with every fiber of his being. So this is him being a smartass. Now, that being said, I don't think Jaden Williams, the starting left tackle, is going to play. I won't be surprised if Princely Amanmielen, the Florida transfer defensive end, doesn't play, has a high ankle sprain. It was very frustrated in that game on Saturday against Kentucky with some of the low blocks. There are some other guys who are beat up. But Kiffin's Wednesday list, Chris, I'll put it this way: I didn't even read it. It's his protest. So he's going to list everyone who might have a sniffle is probably questionable. I will pay more attention to it later in the week. I didn't even open it last night. I knew it was going to be silliness, and it probably was. It's just some of that is just Lane being Lane. He's just kind of the way he's wired. As a local guy, you don't know him at all. I've covered him for 5 years. I've had some text message exchanges. I've had one 30-second personal interaction with him in 5 years. It's wild. He's really good with national people. The guy that you see on social media is not really the guy you see in person. He doesn't really answer a lot of like minutia questions, and so a lot of the local reporters that's all they know how to do. I think they get frustrated. If you ask him big picture questions, he likes to dive into that, and you can get some really good stuff. He's interesting. I mean, he's very, very competitive. He's very driven. He wants to win. All of those things. So he's pretty good for business. A lot of people, he gets lots of clicks, and people like to read about Lane Kiffin. But I think there's a certain narrative out there nationally about him that probably isn't anywhere close to reality. But for some reason, it continues to resonate. Like the whole Joey Freshwater thing, and there's just nothing to be further from the truth, really.
Interesting. That sounds a lot like Will Muschamp, honestly. Yeah, Will, he got frustrated a lot by some media things, didn't really want to do those things, knows it's part of the job, but, there's a feeling sometimes that the national guys can do more for you, and their agents work through those guys a lot too. Look, that's not me slamming anybody. You do go do your job. That's all, whatever it might be. So there you go. Good stuff. Again, that's Neil McCready, Rebel Grove, covering Ole Miss. All right, I tell you what, let's hit a break. We'll come back. We got a lot more sound to get to from Shane Beamer. He talks about what Carolina can do schematically and a few other things that he's looking for tomorrow afternoon. And we are about, let's call it 20 minutes away from playing this week's edition of the Wild Card Showdown. Elijah Campbell is mentally, at least, salivating over this one as he tries to go 5-0.
Here to defend my title
for a second consecutive week. It's the Friday postgame show. 18 minutes after 5 o'clock on this Friday afternoon. Welcome back in. It's the postgame show. Jay and Elijah with you. We're getting you ready for Carolina and Mississippi tomorrow afternoon. Full day coverage. The party lot tomorrow morning, 10:30. Is that you and Tyler?
That is.
And
myself and Tyler Head getting you ready.
And Adam Vance
game.
with the lampshade.
That's right. And he'll be running around, and it is going to be a wild party. Adam has all kinds of
if
party
you're going to
tricks.
call it the party lot, I mean, you just, you got to live up.
Someone there's got to be shirtless. It might be me.
Well, let's not do that. I mean, after you're done, you go 10:30 to 12:30, right?
Yes.
All right. Well, at 12:31, if that's what you think you need to do, that's fine.
That's my duty,
Yeah.
Jay Phillips.
I see.
Is to bring the party to the party lot.
Yeah.
That's why they brought me on.
And then Tyler will just be shaking his head.
Tyler's the voice of reason for the two of us.
Yeah. Well,
he's the thinker. I'm the doer.
that will
the doer without
we
thinking.
talk a lot about the Tyler Head Sports experience, but that'll be an experience. I don't know what kind necessarily.
It's the one you pay for.
But if you and Adam both get going, not really seeing you making it into the game. I'll tell you that much.
Adam brings the party to the party.
I'm not going to say you'll be in the Alvin S. Glenn Detention Center. I'm just saying that you might not make it to the game.
The in-between.
Yeah.
There are two spectrums here. Making it into the game, the Alvin S. Glenn Detention Center.
I don't want you there.
No, absolutely
Yeah,
not.
no. You don't need that. You don't need that.
Don't want that. Don't want to see that on tape.
Dave, if you would, cut number 7 on today's list, please. We have talked a lot this week about, Kentucky showing a blueprint, a roadmap, however you want to label it, in terms of what Carolina may be able to do to thwart Ole Miss. Here's Shane Beamer from Carolina Calls last night discussing some of those things that he saw last week.
No, I think so. I think we always see things that other teams do that maybe fit us as well, that we maybe try and implement and whatnot. The little 2-point conversion that we ran with Kai Kroger, that's something we stole from the University of Washington with Kalen DeBoer, who's now at Alabama. Yeah. We called it Husky because we stole it from the Washington Huskies.
We'll run it next week.
Yeah. So I think you're always seeing things that, man, that's a pretty good idea, whether it be high school, college, NFL, but certainly talking about that game specifically, yes and no. I mean, first of all, Kentucky got after them, and they were good up front. Kentucky's offense converted third downs. It was good scheme, but really it was a lot of just great one-on-one plays. Dane Key making catches, Kentucky's receiver versus Ole Miss's defensive back, or Kentucky's defensive linemen or DBs winning one-on-one matchups with receivers and offensive linemen. It's a little bit tougher schematically just because Kentucky's defense is built. Their style is a little bit different than ours. They primarily are a rush 3, drop 8, or rush 4, drop 7, and play 3 deep coverage the whole game. And they do it really, really well. But that's not really what we are all the time. But there's certainly elements of things that you see that maybe a team had trouble with that you try and implement. And this game's no different. And it's not just Kentucky Ole Miss. It's seeing things that, maybe Middle Tennessee did against them or Wake Forest did against them that they had a little bit of success with. And if it fits you, you certainly can implement it.
He makes a great point there towards the end, and it's something that you and I have discussed earlier in the week when we talked about the blueprint, and that's that while South Carolina is known this season for how much production they've gotten from the guys up front on defense, they do it differently. Clayton likes to bring them. He'll come at you from different areas.
Disguises blitzes really well.
Yeah, I'll say how he disguises things, and so while they could have shown the blueprint, how far out of your own, dare I say, comfort zone do you want to get? Because I think you might want to mimic some of what Kentucky did to see, maybe even especially early, if Ole Miss either tries to counter what you're doing or they get frustrated again, could you then ultimately, kind of like in basketball when you might be playing, say a 2-3 zone, but you can also play some press man, and then all of a sudden your coach just looks and there's one signal to flip that switch. I know it's not quite the same in football in terms of how basketball is played, but
similar principle.
But can Carolina do some of that? I'll be interested to see tomorrow how much of Carolina's, dare I say, regular defense is played relative to trying to pull a little bit from last week if it suits your needs?
I think definitely in the secondary. I think there's going to be a whole lot of that because Kentucky did a really good job. And this kind of goes back to the tackling thing too, right? They did a really good job of keeping Ole Miss receivers in front of them. And Trey Harris a couple times. I mean, Ole Miss only had 5 what would be considered big explosive plays in the passing game, which were just gains of 15-plus yards. And a lot of that is just things that Ole Miss always gets anyway, right? Like they will get a lot of those. They will get 10 to 12-yard chunk plays. But if you look at it, I mean, really, on one of those plays was right at 15 yards. So you take that 15-yarder, which barely qualifies, and they only had 4 of those. And all year long, they've had a ton. Kentucky defensively did a better job their secondary, at least keeping receivers in front of them and minimizing damage. I think so much of defending Ole Miss is minimizing damage because they do play in such great space. They do play really fast, and they play up tempo. And not all the time are they going to be able to get the ball, or not all the time are you going to be able to get to the quarterback because Jackson Dart will get the ball out pretty quick, which would help minimize the damage you can do against them. But they also like running routes like pretty deep. There's a lot of elements to it, but if you can minimize a lot of that risk, and I think that's the one thing Kentucky did really well, or minimize the damage. I think Kentucky did a hell of a job at minimizing the damage on certain plays that Ole Miss likes to do. I think that's what you can take away.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and as you've mentioned a lot this week too, replicate what Kentucky's defense did on third downs, and you're in really good shape. And we just heard Shane talking a little bit about that. Dave, cut number 5, please. Speaking of, skill guys and what Ole Miss wants to do, nobody better at it for Jackson Dart than Trey Harris. As I've mentioned this week, Trey has 49 catches on the season already through 5 games. The next 4 guys combined behind him have 45 catches. So this young man is not only their main weapon, but he is a main weapon that other defenses have not yet been able to really slow down. Didn't matter as much last week, but he got his. But here's Shane Beamer on what he sees from the Ole Miss star receiver.
He's got size. He can run. He's athletic. And then, there's so many other guys besides him as well. The slot receiver, Lee, number 19, and the tight end's a good player, and the running back's a good player, and the quarterback's an athlete. So they got a lot of weapons. But I think every week is different. I think you've got to mix it up. You guys will remember 2 years ago against Tennessee, Cam Smith literally followed Jalen Hyatt wherever he went the entire game. And, that's one way of playing it. The other way is to mix it up and play a little bit more zone. And I think you got to pick your spots. You can't ask your corners or DBs to sit there the entire game and play that guy man-to-man coverage. But you certainly got to be willing to do what you do. And we're not going to, change our defense necessarily for anyone, but you got to be smart because he is someone that they target a lot. That's why he's leading the SEC or nation or whatever in every receiving category. I mean, they tried to throw to him 15 times Saturday, and they only had 50 plays. So 1 every 3 plays against Kentucky, they were trying to throw the ball to that receiver. So we've got a big challenge ahead of us.
Yeah, and when they threw the ball, Shane's right. And I think he had 11
11
week.
catches.
Yeah,
caught 11,
and well over 100.
Targets.
So
176. He almost got 200.
Yeah, I mean he's gonna get his. It's a matter of what else that you're able to do. We'll have some final thoughts from Coach coming up in just a little bit, but right now, actually before that, let me remind you about something real quick. Then I'll invite you on. But the folks here at Columbia Craft and their friends at Carolina Malt House are having a hurricane relief supply drive, non-perishable foods, baby items, especially diapers, formula in cans, toiletries, things like that. Non-perishables of any kind really are helpful for folks right now who have no power and no running water in a lot of spots. And if you bring those here to Columbia Craft or to Carolina Malt House, they're going to give you 15% off your tab. It's that simple, and it's all weekend long. The first truck is going to be heading up to the upstate and to Western North Carolina on Tuesday, so they'll be collecting today, tomorrow, Sunday, Monday. So whatever you can do at either location, come on by, bring those supplies. And, a lot of the lists you're seeing for a lot of places that are taking donations, same things here, and wherever you might be able to make a donation, whether it's of material goods, financial, do what you can, because there's so many folks that are obviously devastated, and we've been through that here ourselves not all that long ago. But again, do it this weekend here or Carolina Malt House, and they'll give you 15% off of your tab just for helping out. So do what you can. All right, now let's do it. We need 2 of you. 803-404-6100. 404-6100. It's time to play this week's edition of the Wild Card Showdown. Last week, Elijah Campbell went 5-0. I went a modest 3-2.
A respectable.
We are tied now at 12-13. If you can find a way to beat us, which typically hadn't been that hard until last week because when Elijah was showing off, we will give you one of our fantastic 107.5 The Game craft beer passports, which gets you a lot of beer, including right here and at other places all over the Midlands of South Carolina. So two of you right now, 803-404-6100. The Wild Card Showdown is next. Have a library here. Thought so. God, that's loud. Holiday season's nearly upon us. Gathering family and friends around the fire has always been a holiday tradition, and now Palmetto Propane is ready to help you upgrade your fireplace, whether it's propane or natural gas. They have premium gas logs, plus complete installation and service. Stop in to one of Palmetto Propane's Hearth and Patio home store showrooms and see these things. Feel the heat that they give off. All right, not only for the insides too, but they've got fire features for outdoors. They've got gas lanterns, so many things to make life easier. And by the way, even though it's not like a great gift or something, although it could be, Renai tankless water heaters, when all those family and friends are in the house taking showers over the holidays, don't run out of hot water. Not only then, but ever. Palmetto Propane has stores in Batesburg. They've got them in Augusta, in Lexington, Aiken, and West Columbia as well. And they are always online for this and more at palmettopropane.com.
All right, looking at accidents on the roads. We're looking at Gervais and UG, Colonial Life Boulevard at 126. A wreck there, Divine near Woodrow. Then Freshly Mill Road at Kennerly. Lake Murray Boulevard near St. Andrews Road, right about Irmo Drive, a wreck. Lady Street at Hugh G, an accident there. Broad River Road at St. Andrews Road with an accident there as well. Weather outlook for tomorrow. We're looking at 86 for a high, 66 for a low. Sunday, 84 for a high, 63 for a low. Monday, 87 for a high, and 62 for a low. It's Captain Dave, WIS TV Traffic Center.
.534 on this Friday. Welcome back in. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell. It's a post-game show, Football Friday edition from Columbia Craft in the Vista, the South Vista.
The Sista.
That's right. We're down here hanging out for a little bit longer. Then Elijah and Justin have an interesting show tonight.
Yeah, there might be some big news in South Carolina high school football. They'll be playing games tonight. We know that, but there has been the Coaches Association has sent a formal letter to the South Carolina High School Sports League requesting that we have a 2-week pause. So we're going to be having some guests on tonight to talk about that. People who will be, I guess, in charge of making those decisions.
Interesting. Interesting. All right, Captain Dave, cue the band as we play this week's edition of the Wild Card Showdown. We've got Andre and Courtney ready to play today. Andre, how you doing, buddy? All right, Courtney, how are you, sir?
What's happening, fellas? How are y'all?
We're doing well. It's Friday, and we got a beer, so things are good. We're at Columbia Craft.
Yeah,
you know, that's how it is. All right, guys, 4 games against the spread for all of us. Got a wild card game individually and a tiebreaker stat. Andre and Courtney, if you can beat the other guy and us, then we will hook you up with one of our 107.5 The Game craft beer passports, a $360 value. And you get to win one. So, I mean, boom, how's that? All right, Andre, we're going to let you bat lead off. We've got A&M hosting Missouri tomorrow. The Aggies are 2.5-point favorites in College Station. What do you think, Andre? Going with Mizzou. All right, Courtney, same game.
Got to go with the Tigers. Missouri's going to do it.
All right, Mizzou on the road. Elijah Campbell.
Give me the Aggies outright.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'll make that one kind of quick here. I just haven't seen enough from Missouri yet. I've seen something from A&M's defense at least. If Missouri surprises us tomorrow, so be it. They are the team in the top 10, but I'll take A&M at home minus the points. Washington is hosting Michigan in a national title rematch, but both teams are very, very different at this point in time. I'll let Elijah Campbell go first on this one.
Is this a pick 'em?
It is 1.5. Washington 1.5.
Washington favorite. Yeah, this is a case of wrong team favorite. Give me Michigan.
Michigan on the road. All right, Courtney.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Michigan Stallions.
There you go. Wild Stallions.
Unofficially, but officially.
For the win. Yes, we'll change their name. I have been back and forth on this one, but I like Michigan's defense. I just don't know enough about Washington, so until further notice.
Yeah, Will Rogers is.
I do. Well, the Cowboy guy, right? No, that was Roy Rogers.
He's riding tonight.
Yeah, Will Rogers was the poet or something. I don't know what he was. Andre, what do you think, man? All right. There we go. So that's a clean sweep across the board. Michigan plus the points on the road. To the NFL we go now. Courtney, I'll let you go first. Pittsburgh Steelers, Dallas Cowboys on Sunday night. Quick aside, Elijah and I were talking. This has the possibility to be the most watched Sunday night football regular season game ever.
Has to be.
I think it really is going to come close. But anyway.
Two biggest fan bases.
Courtney, it is Pittsburgh. minus 2.5 at home. What do you think?
So Dallas' defense is absolutely trash. I've got to go with Pittsburgh at home on this one.
Pittsburgh. I mean, this game might be like 6-3, man.
That's good. Take the under. if you're into that sort of thing.
He's right. I mean, but Pittsburgh can't score either. They just don't let you score.
No.
They just keep it on the ground.
Yeah, and they may. It's going to be. It could be ugly. Andre, what do you think? All right. That's cool. My wife's a Cowboys fan, and she'll probably be throwing stuff at the television. So I'll put one of those protective screens on it. Elijah Campbell.
Smart, good call. I'll go Cowboys too. I don't know if I trust. I know the Cowboys might have a little bit of an issue with the run defense, but the Steelers have an issue with offense in general. They don't be scoring a lot of points.
Y'all don't tell my wife, but I'm going to take Pittsburgh minus the points at home.
Good thing no one's going to hear us. No one's hearing this conversation. It's not being broadcast.
Baltimore and Cincinnati in Cincinnati, but it's the Ravens that are favorites on the road, 2.5 points. Andre, I'll let you go first. Baltimore minus 2.5 in Cincy. Ravens. All right, I'll go next. And this is tough because I think Cincinnati is better than they've shown us. But then again, maybe they're just not. I mean, that doesn't take long in the NFL for you to be who you are.
Fall off.
But I almost feel like this is one of those, man, you got to win this game kind of a thing, right?
Oh, have to.
So
at home,
I'm gonna take Cincinnati plus the points. Maybe they don't win, but maybe it's a 1 point. I don't know, but I'm gonna take Cincinnati plus the 2.5, perhaps against my better judgment. Who you got?
Give me the Ravens. I don't know who rushes for 200 yards first, Lamar Jackson or Derrick Henry, but one of them will.
Ouch! Wow, if that happens. Ugh. All right, Courtney, same game.
Yeah, I'm going Ravens as well. I mean, it's a must-win for either one of them, right?
So that's fair.
I am going Ravens here.
All right. Well, I'll be out on that island, and it probably won't be comfortable.
Ravens still winning the Super Bowl.
It'll be some rocky outcropping island as opposed to something lush and beautiful. Wild card time now, guys. Andre, I'll draw yours first, and you have Tennessee, 13.5 point. It's a Vols, by the way. Tennessee, 13.5 at Arkansas.
I wish I knew the weather forecast for this game, but I'm going to go with
Tennessee. All right. That's Andre's. All right. Courtney, you have game days out at Cal, right?
Miami, it is.
Yeah.
The Calgorithm.
Yeah. Miami is a 10-point favorite at California, Courtney.
I'm going to have to go with the criminal condition. That Miami's going to go out to California and be able to take this game all the way through and through. That's all there is to it.
So that is California that we've got. Yes, I just was making sure there. Thank you, Coach. Let's see, Elijah Campbell, you've got the Ohio State University.
Oh, you give me this
18.5 point game, or a spread rather, over Iowa.
Oh man, the number one offensive in SP Plus versus the number one defense in SP Plus. Give me Ohio State because Ohio State's going to win 24-3.
All right, there you go. And finally, I've got Georgia, 22-point favorites over the Auburn Tigers. Man, I mean, Georgia against Kentucky, but they won. Last week, for a half, and they lost. And then they were really good. Georgia's got to cover.
What was the spread on that one?
22.
22.
Yeah, 22. All right, finally, guys, back to the Steelers-Cowboys game. And we talked just a second ago there. Pittsburgh can play some D. I need pass yards for Dak. Pass yards for Dak on Sunday against the Steelers D. Courtney, I'll let you go first.
I'm going to go with 263.
263, says Courtney for Dak through the air. Andre.
247.
247. I'm going to let Elijah go last because he won last
week. They only need enough
yards
to make a field goal.
Yeah.
So that's all
I hear you. I'm going lower than both of you guys. In fact, I'm going to go a little significantly lower, and I may regret this.
You take my number.
I'm going 185.
185.
185.
You didn't go as low as I did. I went 227.
227. That was
I wrote that down before the segment, and if you said my number, I was going to be really impressed.
No. Yeah, there you go. All right, guys. Y'all are locked in. Again, beat the other guy, beat us, and we will hook you up with a 107.5 The Game craft beer passport. Good for some brews here at Columbia Craft and many other great locations all around town. So we'll let you know on Monday. Andre, Courtney, appreciate you listening. Appreciate you putting up with us. And good luck this weekend, boys. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Definitely.
You bet. All right. That's Andre.
Appreciate
That's
it, fellas.
Courtney. And that is the Wild Card Showdown. Again, Elijah and I both are 12-13 on the season, but Elijah went 5-0 last week to vault back into a tie.
Yeah, I told you
now,
the second half team.
The game is on, man.
That's
the
right.
The game is afoot, as Sherlock Holmes would say.
For what we agree on the two college games. Cowboys, Steelers, Ravens, Bengals, and then our wild card is going to be where the hay is made here.
Yeah.
That's where someone's going to create some separation.
So we'll see what happens. All right. And we may need a tiebreaker. Never know. All right. Final thoughts on Carolina Ole Miss when we return to Columbia Craft Football Friday postgame show. All right, welcome back in. 12 minutes in front of 6 o'clock here on this Friday afternoon. The final few minutes of the postgame show live from Columbia Craft down in the Vista corner of Green, Pulaski, UG Street. Come say hey. We're only here for a few more minutes, but you can still come say hey. But if you do come later tonight or this weekend, do want to remind you to please, if you can, bring some supplies for hurricane relief for the folks in the upstate of South Carolina and the mountains of western North Carolina who have obviously just been walloped by Hurricane Helene, and the things that anybody needs in these types of situations, like canned goods, non-perishable food items, a lot of things for babies. Anything you can bring would be most appreciated, and they're going to show that appreciation to you here and at Carolina Malt House by giving you 15% off of your tab. So a great way for you to help out. And they're going to say thank you by giving you 15% off your bill. And that's going to be through Monday. They're taking the first truck. Could go longer, but Maz here at Columbia Craft was telling us first truck is going to be going out on Tuesday. So tonight or through Monday, bring those supplies by and do your part. And, again, they'll give you 15% off.
I think that's a really fair deal.
It is, man. Win-win.
You help relief efforts. They help you with relief on your tab.
Look at that. I mean, that's how it goes. So good stuff. But they're great people down here, man.
This place rules.
Yeah, love.
I'm a huge fan.
This is what year? Well, I know for you and me it's year 2, but I think this is
Technically,
year
1.5 for me.
Yeah, that's true.
We're approaching
this is
1
like
year as a
year
show.
4 for us doing shows here. It's been a while.
Hey,
yeah, it's been good.
How about that?
I love it. I love coming down here. All right, Dave, if you would please, one more from Coach Beamer from last night. Cut number 2, Dave. Of course, Carolina was off last week while Kentucky was beating Mississippi. But Shane Beamer talking about going from the bye week to now getting ready for the Ole Miss Rebels.
Question. We practiced on Monday last week and didn't even really talk Ole Miss. It was all ourselves and working a lot of against each other, first offense versus first defense and trying to get better that way. And then Tuesday and Wednesday, we started introducing Ole Miss a little bit each day. I think you can get burned out if you do too much of it too soon.
Right.
So last week for us was, shorter meetings than a normal game week and a little bit less time on the field. And we spent, I would say last week we were on the field about 90 minutes each day. And I don't know, 15 or 20 of those were spent on Ole Miss last week, but just enough to introduce it, plus what we were doing in the meetings. And then when we got back in after the weekend, we practiced on Sunday. And from Sunday on this week, it's been all Ole Miss.
So, you work on you, but we've already talked to a bunch of people who have said it's not like it used to be, where you might have even had during your bye week almost a little mini camp.
Yeah.
Now it's really more about healing up and getting ready,
recuperating.
Yeah. We've talked so much about blueprint here and what to do there. This game can go in a lot of different directions, Elijah. And I'll tell everybody, I predicted an Ole Miss victory on our staff contest or our staff picks at Gamecock Central. But if you read what I said, I have gone back and forth and back and forth. My number one concern right now and why I picked Ole Miss on paper is because I don't know how effective Carolina's 2 biggest weapons are going to be tomorrow.
That's a fair point.
And I'm going to go into this game. It's not a lack of optimism. It's just got to be done with a dose of realism. I don't know if Lenoris and Rocket are 100%. If they were or are, I can change a few things around. I also believe what I've said to you all week long. Ole Miss learned something about itself last week. And if they really want to be that team, they better find a way to regroup and come in here tomorrow and win this football game. Opponent be damned, if you will. Environment as well. You just need to be you and go win. At the same time, did Kentucky, not about the blueprint, did Kentucky just expose Ole Miss as well? Hey, you haven't played anybody. So, and I think Ole Miss is better than that because I know they've got some talent and I know they've got a coach that can dial up plays.
Yes.
So between Carolina still having some tackling issues and not knowing if they're full strength on offense, I've picked a Mississippi victory. But if you tweak just a couple of those things through the course of the game, I'm certain South Carolina can win. I don't feel about this the way I would feel if they were, playing Ohio State or something like that.
Right.
Like you can win this game. And Kentucky proved that South Carolina can win, and not about the transitive property either. But you can go out, you can win this game tomorrow. But if Ole Miss picks itself up off the mat and shows who they think they are, who they want to be, they're going to win this game. So it can go either way, and I wouldn't be surprised with either outcome.
You know how high I was on Ole Miss to start the year. I still am. I don't think this team that exists for Ole Miss is so much different than it was when it started the season. I'm surprised they lost that game, but I think if you replay that game many times, there's going to be a lot of different outcomes, including Ole Miss beating Kentucky on most of those.
Probably 7 out of 10.
Yeah. I think it was one of those times where the mistakes that Ole Miss made were amplified by how crucial they were, right? 3 pass interference or defensive holding penalties in the last drive. A fumble recovery that fell right into the hands of a Kentucky player inside the end zone. Going 1 for 10 on third down, even though they were 3rd and 6. There's a lot of execution things and a lot of things that didn't go Ole Miss's way. I still think like that team, talent-wise, top to bottom, is as good as anybody in the SEC. I still firmly believe that. I think that defensive line is still really good. My biggest hang-up for South Carolina in this game, because I did pick Ole Miss to win by 6. My biggest hang-up is South Carolina's offensive line against Ole Miss's pass rush and tackling. Can your secondary tackle? I need to see a lot more from some of those guys in the secondary if you're going to be able to make it out of this game.
Thanks to the folks at Columbia Craft for having us out. Always appreciate their hospitality. For Langston Moore, appreciate him. Alan Cole as well. And good luck to Andre and Courtney on the showdown. For Elijah, I'm Jay. Y'all have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday.